Hi, my name is Tyson Loretson. This video will be my reaction and analyzation to Richard Borshay-Lee's article, Eating Christmas in the Kalahari. In this video, I'm going to summarize the article, talk about how worldviews shape different interpretations of culture, and give you my thoughts on the article, which I found very interesting. I'll start by summarizing the article. The article is about Richard Lee, who's an anthropologist visiting the Kung tribe. And towards the end of his visit, they have a Christmas-like celebration where their custom is that everyone brings an ox for the tribe. And Richard Lee goes out of his way to get a extravagant piece of ox meat to bring to this tribe. And he is expecting to be met with gratitude and appreciation for the gift he brings, and instead the tribe sort of mocks him and makes him feel sort of bad, I guess, for bringing that, telling him that the meat was not thick enough and all these negative things that I guess he was not expecting. And I think the worldview of Richard Lee is that because he's from Western civilization, he thought that giving a big gift would equate to appreciation, praise, and elevated social status. And the Kung tribe worldview is that no individual is above another, and humility is valued in their culture over pride. And so their teasing wasn't necessarily them rejecting the gift, but it was a way that their culture does, I guess, interacts with people to keep everyone modest and everyone equal. Even if someone does bring maybe a more extravagant gift, they believe that everyone is equal and that things like that don't make you better than anyone else, which is slightly contrary to the Western civilization view, where here it's valued to get the most expensive or biggest thing. And so it's just very different cultures. So the ethnocentric bias is Lee saw their response as rude, and he thought they were being ungrateful, disrespectful, when in reality, they thought that their response was completely normal, and they weren't actually ungrateful or upset with his gift, but they were just sort of messing with him because it's part of their culture to do so. And he misinterpreted it until he eventually understood their cultural logic, which he initially was oblivious to. So this story challenges the cultural normalcy because it highlights that normal is extremely relative to what someone is around constantly or exposed to as a child, or, it's different for everyone. And this article made me realize that everyone has different normals in their lives, and especially in their cultures or family traditions, that something I might view as normal or my family might view as normal, someone from a completely different culture could view it as extremely abnormal. And so it just challenges cultural norms. An example of a cultural norm in America that I think might be abnormal to other people is how we celebrate our 4th of July, our Independence Day. We shoot fireworks into the sky, and we're very prideful of our country, and we do all these extravagant things. And other places in the world might see that as extremely prideful in a negative way or obnoxious, and to us it's completely normal. But to other countries where, I guess, nationality or national pride is not as important, they might see that as very different or even negative in some cases. So a personal example I have is that when one of my good friends in high school, we were out to eat, and he had a foreign exchange student living with him and his family, from Japan. And the time came to leave a tip at the restaurant, and he was very shocked that tipping was normal here. He didn't realize it. And he explained to us that in Japan, tipping is not really a thing, and even in some cases can be seen as disrespectful, because the way they think of it is that if you're tipping someone, it might imply that they need more money or they're not as good at their job. And in Japan, in his culture, they really value their work and being seen as like good at their work. And so it was just interesting to me that something that's so normal here for us and even seen as like a gesture of like generosity, for them was seen as more of a, could be seen as even disrespectful. So that was different for me, and I had not really thought about it till that night. So I think the best practice for when you're around other cultures is to always be respectful, and maybe even if you don't understand something at first, to maybe ask questions and just sort of be respectful of the environment you're in and try to learn, I guess, because there's always going to be things that you might not understand if you're visiting a new culture or around a new culture, and there's always probably things you can learn, and just, yeah, be respectful. So yeah, that's, in conclusion, I think that this article has made me think a lot about the way I interact with other cultures and what I think is normal. And eating Christmas in the Kalahari is a reminder to me that in order to understand other people, we must step outside of what we think is normal and our own cultural norms, and understand that it's different for everyone, and the world is not like just about us. It's different for everyone, and everyone's involved. And yeah, I really enjoyed the article.